can you give us a snapshot of your business as it is today, estimated turnover, number of customers, number of vans, number of staff, and then take it right back to where you started day one? What were you doing?
Yep, so turnovers are around $1 million. Staff, we've got some part-time. So we have about 20 odd staff, 22. We've got obviously a part of the business in Cumbria, parts in Norfolk. Customers around 3,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then break down that part of the business is in Cumbria, part of it's in Norfolk, how that all works.
So last year a business came up in Cumbria for sale. So we visited, had a look at it, and thought, you know what, that's looking good. It was, majority of it's commercial, 90% commercial. So we have a team of guys there. We've got about 8 guys there. As I said, some are part-time. We've got an admin lady who deals with all the planning, day-to-day calls, quotes. I'll then get forwarded quotes to look at and deal with. I'll visit probably anything from 6 to 7 times a year. I'll go more if needed. But yeah, so we bought that. Basically want to scale up. We want to be national. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to just stick with Norfolk and Suffolk. We want to go national. We did have a small round in Devon, but we made a bit of a mistake there.
It's quite far away, isn't it?
Well, it would have been fine, but we took on a couple, and we lost the round because the couple decided not to do it anymore. If you had 2 separate people doing it, then one guy could have carried on, and it was just too far for us to try and keep it going. So we learned from that. So we learned that if we were going to buy further afield, we buy an infrastructure, we buy a business. We don't really buy little rounds with one person, because anything can happen. They could fall ill, they could lose interest. So you need an infrastructure. So a bit like I was saying earlier, we tried to duplicate what McDonald's have done. You build a structure, you build a template, and you multiply that around the region. And that's kind of what we're doing. So we've got our template in Norfolk. We run from different apps for Squeegee, for planners, all different CRMs. So we run from them, and we try and duplicate that in Cumbria. And that seems to be working.
Smashing. And so taking it right back to day one, did you start, were you traditional when you started? Were you just, start up on your own?
When I started, I started part-time. So I was working in the print industry, and then literally a mate of mine just said, "Oh, do you want to come out window clean for a weekend, bit of extra cash?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So went out. That was traditional. That was ladders, same old thing, Put yourself at risk, constantly going up on the ladders. In the winter it was a nightmare. You could always work because the ladders slip. So I did that for probably 2 or 3 years, just potting about extra money. And then I decided to look at doing something myself. So I was working full time anyway, and then a window round come up for sale, and I thought, I'm gonna have a look. I'm gonna give it a go. So I visited the guys, bought around, didn't map out how it should have done. You probably hear these horror stories anyway, but people will sometimes sell around. I've got X amount of customers, they've got it in a book. You come to go around the customers. Some are legit, some just aren't. So I did lose a lot of customers on my first round. A little bit of a heated scenario with the seller, but then that got me my name. When I bought that round, the name came with it. So I really wanted that name.
This was
We Clean Any Window, yeah. So I thought it stands out, it sticks in your head. So I thought, right, what I did was I bought the round, and I tried to win back some of the previous clients because they'd just been mistreated by the previous people. They lost faith in them, and they'd lost faith in the brand. So I thought I need to bring this back. So I offered free cleans. I took it on the chin, and I said, look, if you're happy, come back to me. majority of them come back. Majority of them saw a change in what I was trying to do. So I managed to restructure that brand, and I had fast growth. I mean, I had aggressive approach on it. You know, every job come up, I was going straight after it. Other Whittakers were like, who is this guy like going around like taking up every job? And it's because I wanted to grow. I then got a little bit sort of worried that if I'm on my own and something happens to me, I lose my income.
Can I just interject here? Have you left the print at this point? Or are you still, is this on the side still?
So I left the print eventually. I left the print and then just focused on the windows.
So did you leave the print and then buy the round, or did you?
No, I bought the round.
Yep.
And because I had such a big drop off of customers,
yep,
I couldn't afford to just leave everything else. So I kind of was working both. And then I got to the point where I built up enough to keep going myself. And it just grew from that.
So how many customers did you sort of buy at that point? What were you sitting on? And then
so
what did that growth look like?
It should have been a £4,000 a month revenue, but it ended up being about 1,200 quid.
Oh wow,
that was a big drop. Was that about 200 customers-ish, 300 customers?
Yeah, the problem was back then the prices weren't great. You know, the equipment was old. Everything was, you know, I didn't start with brand new kit. It was really old, and I had to have a rethink. I thought the equipment was letting me down. You know, the poles were horrendous. I think they're aluminium. They're like horrendous, so cold. So they were letting me down, and I just thought, right, I need to rethink this. So a family member helps me. One, get the round, and two, progress with equipment. We got a new van, got it all signed nice. Made a real effort on the brand, got some better kit. I thought, right, it's all working, it's not failing on me. Let's go forward, and that's how I just kept pushing forward.
Brilliant.
Okay, so how has the business evolved since you launched it? So from where you started to where you are now, and what did you implicate along the way?
It's evolved massively. Originally, I was just doing windows because I'd only just learned water-fed pole, and I wanted to be confident with it. As time went on, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, we can start introducing gutters and fascias. I wasn't using gutter vacs at the time because, again, I was just adapting to the pole system. And then another round came up for sale. So I bought it. Really good round, and there was a staff member coming with it. So that really was a game changer. That enabled me. The guy wasn't going to stay on. He loved the job, but he knew the round was being sold and thought he was going to have to look for another job. But I took him on, and he's still with me now.
Really?
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. A lot of my staff.
So can I just touch on what's the time scale we're looking at here? How many years ago did you start? How long have you been going?
I think it's 2016.
So just under 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so he's still with me now. Really good guy. You know, always had a good relationship. We were in a van together to start with because I had to learn that other round again. And that's the hard thing. You're not just buying the round. The customer's got to get to know you. Everything's got to be transferred over. You got to hope you don't lose a lot. We never did, to be fair. We lost very few. And then you just learn the round. You educate yourself. What's the most efficient way of doing it? And then we evolved by using Cleaner Planner and not an Excel sheet, printing out all the sheets. So so that was the next big step, taking another person on.
Okay.
What was, sorry, just to touch on what you just said there, where the difficult job is obviously visiting all of the new customers when you buy around. What is that process like? Is it very stressful? Do you have like a blueprint where you sort of go, right, we buy, then this, and this, and this?
So I would never buy a round and just take it over. I'd never do it. It don't work. People say, yes, it does. You could argue it would work, but the retention of the customers would, you wouldn't retain a lot. You'd lose a lot because they've been used to Bob for 20 odd years. Do you know what I mean? You come along, They don't know you from anyone else. They don't know your personality. They don't know the way you work. Where if you work alongside the previous window cleaner for, I would say at least 2 or 3 cleans, definitely. They then get to speak to you, learn a bit about your personality. They then build a connection. And then sometimes the guys would stay on with me for a little while. They might stay on me for 6 months. And then they would slowly phase out. But that's, for me, the smoothest transaction.
So have the original owner.
Yeah, and also, if someone's selling a business, they've got to be confident in their business to say, I want you to have the smoothest takeover possible. I don't want you to lose customers. That's what they're going to do. If they want to sell and run,
it's a bit red flag sort of.
I would definitely. There's got to be something going on. Yeah. Definitely.
So I think you've already answered this, but we've got to touch it again. What areas do you cover now, and how do you manage operations across multiple locations?
So we cover all over Norfolk, Suffolk, and we also cover obviously Cumbria. We do sometimes have a team of abseilers that we connect with that will do high rises for us. We work alongside them, so they'll deal with all. The abseilers will deal with all our high rise buildings, any commercial stuff that we have. The stuff in Norfolk we deal with ourselves, and we control it all through Cleaner Planner. We have Squeegee as well. Cumbria's run off Squeegee. Norfolk's run off Norfolk's run off Cleaner Planner.
What's the mileage distance of Norfolk and Suffolk? Is it quite a large area?
Yeah, so we'll clean all round from Yarmouth, Lowestoft, all the way round to Kings Lynn. So we could travel an hour easy.
So that's 60 miles round trip. Yeah.
Suffolk is the next one on from Essex, and Norfolk's the next one on from there. So I think that's quite a huge gap.
I was trying to gauge,
Do you take that whole biscuit part of the UK out? You know,
we try to, but
that's enormous area.
So we always have this conversation about, the amount of time you have with driving, and I do get that. And that's why we try and put in some of the bigger work. So I know some guys focus just on certain aspects of the job, whereas if you flick in a meaty gut and fascia job or patio, it kind of works. And if you can take on people from them areas, even better.
Yeah, what sort of, across different areas, you said you look to buy for a blueprint. It must have a blueprint. What does that look like, and what sort of tick boxes do you need? Yeah,
so I look for a management team, so supervisor, admin, and then a team of guys to go out cleaning. Because with the greatest will in the world, you aren't going to be able to assist with everyone when you're not very remote. So for me, Louise will deal with all the admin, invoicing. Like I said, that's 90% commercial. She'll deal with all the invoicing. I will sort out the quotations for her, and then we just run off a group chat if the guys need anything. So it needs to have an infrastructure. It needs a team. If you don't have a team, then trying to go national, you won't do it.
Is there a minimum turnover threshold that you wouldn't step under?
You want a good 200 to 300,000, because you need enough of a team, because you don't want one or two window cleans to drop out and then you lose
game over.
You're losing it, so you want a good infrastructure there. And like I say, we have some part-time guys, and they're absolutely fine. That works well. That works for them. It works for us.
And your day-to-day now, you say you do the quotes still? Are you mainly sales?
Yeah, so I sometimes go on the tools.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So up until recently, I damaged my shoulder, but I was still out on the tools.
Wicked.
Up till last year, I was out nearly every day.
Really?
And do you enjoy it? You enjoy
I love it. I do love it. For me, I know you get lonely when you're on your own, and that is part of the job, but I jump in with people, and that's good for them. They give them company. We have a laugh. We get on with the work, and I enjoy it. For me, it's different from dealing with staff every day, customers every day. It just gives me a break.
I was going to say, you need a break as well.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I've always liked the clean. I always thought the cleaning bit was the nicest part, really. Running the business is tough.
I'm the same.
I was going to say, company's obviously called We Clean Any Windows, but is there any other services you offer?
Well, yeah, so we do gutters, fascias, patios, driveways, roofs, Yeah,
The whole thing.
Let's quickly touch on your other side of that business as well. Is that all right to talk about?
Yeah.
About how it sort of coincides the We Build Any Property, isn't it?
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
So we were looking at, obviously, when I was doing the windows, I didn't want to just settle for one sector because competition can come in, they can offer all the sectors. The customer will possibly move on because they just want a one-stop shop. That's what we want to be. So I went into the building trade for a period of time, and then I had the discussion that I think we should set up a building firm. I was always getting asked, do you know a plumber? Do you know this? Do you know that? And I was thinking, I was always recommending people, but then it got to a point where it's sometimes hard to recommend certain people because I don't know their work. Yeah, I know they do it. Some people have moved away from their trade, so I thought, let's do our own and let's create a we group. So that's what we're now developing. We're developing the we group. So rather than just focusing on the window clean, we're doing the building, the window clean. We do have 2 other sectors that will be launched this year, but they're
We'll come back in 12 months and we can talk about that because you seem
100%.
quite excited about that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so they will be a game changer, and for me, that's bringing the umbrella together.
That's great. That's great. That's great to hear. Right, you take away.
Yeah, this question we've asked to a lot of people, and the answers vary wildly. So, what's one major misconception the public has about window cleaning or external cleaning in general?
Well, we hear all the time is the time to the value charged. So, like, because they're so used to traditional, they don't look at purified water as probably, I would say, a better technique, because traditional, you're using a squeegee, you're dipping it constantly in a dirty bucket of water, constantly have to replenish the water. As you go around the house, that water's getting dirtier and dirtier. You're using fresh, clean water with a pole system all the time. So it is a better system. It's safer, and yeah, it will be quicker, but it don't mean that the customer's getting any less for their money. They're actually getting more for the money because you will go around all the frames more. The water's better for the windows, 100%. So sometimes they'll say, "Oh, you were only here 10 minutes," but there might have been 2 people, you know. So they don't understand sometimes the value charged for the service carried out. But then again, that don't stop there. It's the water, the fuel, the insurances, the wages. Do you see what I mean? When you break that cost down, there's so many aspects to come out of that. That isn't just a £20 going into your pocket. Do you see what I mean? So I think sometimes they don't understand the running cost of a business. And as you get bigger, that changes. And then that scaling up, we definitely notice that.
Yeah. Just following on from that, because it's something that we asked a couple of other guests of similar size to you. Have you seen your profit margin percentage drop as you've got bigger?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That's always going to happen. So we learnt this when we did the big growth spurt last year. So one, because we had such an aggressive growth period, we had too many staff. We did a canvassing campaign that drew loads of customers in. That went really well. We upscaled staff. We then realised, wow, we are heavily overstaffed. We need to change this. The difference between being a one-man band is you already got yourself to cater for. You can keep your overhead low. The minute you start upscaling, insurances change, health and safety change. These all come at a hefty cost. And then you get to a certain point where that cost is quite substantial to cater for all of the needs that you need to run that business at that size. But then when you go above that, that then levels out. So we're at that point where 2 or 3 vans extra will change our profit margin massively, because that would give us a bigger gap.
Right.
It's just you do hit a sticking point when you get mid-ground of growth.
What's the mid-ground in growth?
We're at about 8 to 9 vans.
Yep.
We need to go over 10.
And what?
Because when you look at the overhead
Yeah.
of the unit,
Oh, I understand what you mean.
You've got to spread that cost.
So-
Over 8 vans. as
Exactly.
opposed
So
to-
once I spread that over a larger
Yeah.
fleet of vans, that will dilute the overhead.
That makes total sense, yeah.
So that's the sticking point. Making sure you squeeze that overhead down.
And have you got a plan in place to push past that?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we're now working on marketing campaigns to increase the customer base and also diversify into other sectors, which will come this year, hopefully.
Within the cleaning industry or different sectors
Yeah,
altogether?
yeah, it is, but it's a different beast altogether.
We'll leave that then.
Yeah.
Come back to that one. What's been your biggest learning curve in this industry specifically for your business?
So for me, some people go into this business with very little overhead. I had kids, so you already have a certain overhead to what you need to earn. For me, if I would have started this younger, that'd been perfect. Start it young, small overhead, probably living with your parents. That's a great time. When you start having an expectation of what you need to earn and your overheads already before you start the business, that's when you get under pressure. So keep your overhead low. Make sure you get a tight knit round. Cut your travelling down. Don't always go brand new with vans. I've learnt that because they get tarnished.
Demolition Derby.
I mean, seriously, it breaks my heart. Yeah, like that's definitely going to change going forward. That is definitely going to change. But yeah, for me, you need to just keep it a tight knit round. Keep it as tight as possible.
And how do you keep up with the trends or changes in the external industry? Are you quite forward thinking in regards to new technology?
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that? Or
I mean,
you stick to what you know?
AI is changing all the time. I mean, that can assist in so many ways. Funny enough, we've got some meetings coming up in the next couple of weeks to help improve with our, rather than us doing it manually, AI is going to step in and help with that. Switching from, we used to use Cleaner Plan, we used to print all the sheets out, give all the sheets out to the guys, they'd fill them all in, then admin would have to input all the system. We then got everyone on Cleaner Plan on their phones, squeegees on their phones. That was a massive game changer because that cuts down the admin. The next step, I want to increase go cardless because chasing debt constantly, very admin heavy. So that's started, but that's a long process.
What percentage of you got 3,500 customers, what percentage would you say are now on go cardless?
About 400. 400 customers
really
on there.
Low.
And you were at 1,300?
3,500.
Customers, pardon me.
Yeah.
Okay, so a very small percentage.
Yeah. So we started implementing it, but then when we had the fast growth, that stopped because we had to. I mean, we got 800 customers in 10 days.
So this is something that I'm struggling with.
Mate, did I hear that? 800 in 10 days?
Yeah.
80 a day is mad. But I will take on a customer however they want to pay because I want to grow as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking I'll deal with the go cardless later on.
Yeah, don't do that.
No?
It depends because like I did that. Oh yeah, pay by check, pay by cash. And then you do that and then you've done it to 100 people.
Yeah, now
You've now got 100 people that you've got to get on go cardless. Where Sky, you have to pay the way they ask you to pay. Sainsbury's, you pay the way they ask you to pay. For some reason, window cleaners are one of the companies that they just want the service but then take forever to pay. And I'm like, come on, we have to have cash flow, we have to roll. So for me, you do have to be quite strict with that. And start your business model as you want it to be. Where back in the day, I didn't really know much about go cardless. And that's another thing that's evolved, a lot more people are using it. And it's just to be fair, we've got staff to pay at the end of the day. And the bigger you get, the more wages you have to pay out. So you need that cash flow.
So do you think not having that in place affected your growth? So if you were 100%, you need to sign up to go cardless, do you think you would have grown as quickly as you thought you would? Because my concern is that I'm going to alienate people that don't want to pay that way.
Yeah, so we could always get into a way of worrying about someone's reaction too much. You know, it's so easy to get caught up in that. But when the electric companies put their bills up, we have to pay it. Like, if I say to 500 customers, pay however you want, but then I can't pay my staff, my business fail anyway. So you got to survive. You got to make sure that you can pay your staff. So if you aren't getting the cash flow come in, you aren't going to survive. I've been in that situation.
Yeah, totally.
It's sleepless nights. It's sleepless nights. You get your tax bills, your VAT bills. It's hard. So you need that cash flow. So you need to think about where you want your business to go and how you want it to grow. You don't want it to be an afterthought. I've got a lot of work to do to get customers on to go cardless. And that's because I've bolted rounds on and I've never focused on that area where I need to now. It's important.
Next one's for you, big man.
Yeah, so your brand name stands out. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think you touched on it earlier, you bought it off a fella.
Yeah.
Is there any reason, did you want it in particular, or was it just one that just happened to come along?
Just came along.
It just came along?
Yeah. I found it quirky. I mean, people keep saying to me, do you own We Buy Any Car? I'm like, no, I don't. And it is quite funny because people in Cumbria always ask me, and I'm like, no, I don't. But yeah, so the name came along, and I thought that's catchy. That is catchy. And then I wanted to add more to it. So we always have gold bonnets. You know, we branded our vans really well, say stand out mall. And people, whenever they see them, they always recognise the vans. And that's why I've created that same brand with the building. So that everything in the group will be branded exactly the same.
I guess you've got 3,500 people that see the logo already.
And know it and trust it, yeah.
They'll...
I must say, I think that's got a better ring to it than We Buy Any Car.
Yeah.
I genuinely mean.
Well, sometimes people go past a van and they sing a tune to the actual company logo, and I'm thinking, that's quirky, I like it.
Right, so about marketing now, how do you approach it, marketing, and what's worked best for you? Word of mouth, social, payments?
So I always get a lot of word of mouth, loads of recommendations. The vans are massive. I'm always getting people phoning me up, or, you know, we'll send your van, can we have a quote? But leaflet drops are doing well. You know, I've only just started, so it is early days for me to rave about it, but they're doing well. I've had 6 new jobs, 3 yesterday, couple day before. We only done a 10,000 leaflet drop. We didn't do many.
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't want to go all Larry. I thought, let's try, we'll do 10,000, see how it goes. But I've had 20, could be 20 jobs now already come in. That's only been a couple of weeks. So for me, that's working. And we, you know, there could be more, but it's only the people that we've said, oh, how did you hear from us? We got your leaflet through the door.
And what's your preferred method? I know leaflets are working for you now, but have you got like a go-to? So this works. We'll do that. You know,
we've tried Facebook. Facebook used to work really well in the early days, but I think some people get fed up with Facebook. They get tired of it. There's so many people jump on the bandwagon with Facebook, so that's died down. I've definitely noticed a decline in that over the last sort of 12, 15 months, definitely. We done paid Google ads, that was doing well, but again, the cost of that every month, was I really getting my value for money through Google ads? But I will say, we did get a lot more calls, definitely, through Google ads. It was just weighing up the cost to what the return was.
Do you just advertise for window cleaning, or do you advertise for your other services as well? So that's a combination of stuff.
We compound all the services, whether it be solars, gutters, patios, everything. Yeah.
Do you run all the ads simultaneously, or do you run an advert for one service, then another, then another?
However, so sometimes we'll do a reel, so we'll do a video and that'll have all of it in. We've got a drone work being done at the moment. That's going to show the builders. That's going to show the cleaning. That's going to show some gutter work. So we'll do every service in one hit. Again with the leaflets, you know, we'll do one service on one side, another service on the other. So we try and cover everything and just keep pushing out there. It's just about brand awareness.
And you've obviously got a Kingdom canvassing.
Yeah.
Thing there. Have you used a lot of canvassing companies or done a lot of canvassing campaigns over the years?
So we used a couple of little independent guys. Just didn't perform. we have a couple of jobs come here and there, but they just weren't performing. We've had people say to us, we can generate this many leads, and again, that fell flat on their face. Keen Canvassing was the one that got us I think 800 customers in 10 days.
So you'd recommend them to
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Can we touch on this? That is an astronomical number. Do you mind talking about a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's fine. So basically, we got in contact with them and said, look, we've had canvassing before. It's been a bit of a disaster. Can we have a look at what you guys can provide? They came over, they brought a team with them. They have a template. They knocked a load of houses. We're like, how many do you think you can get? Oh, we're aiming to get this amount. I'm like, in 10 days. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Did they anticipate to get 800?
They around that, yeah.
Was that was their target?
Mate,
Yeah.
that's insane.
And it's like anything. The best form of advertising is when a customer comes to you. It's always going to be the best form.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I rave about leaflets. If I drop a leaflet, like the customers that contacted me yesterday, they come to me. They want my services. So I haven't sold to them. Do you see what I mean? So that's the best form. Recommendations or customers come directly to you through Facebook or leaflet drops. When you do canvassing, you're going to them. So yes, canvassing work. You will get a drop off. You won't retain all of them. But we did build some of our strongest rounds through that form.
What's the drop off like in your?
It could vary. You could lose 10-20%.
Oh, it's not huge. It's not like.
Could be more. It depends on the area. It depends on, and massively on the day. If it's raining, if it's dark and gloomy, the sun. Obviously, summer period is always going to be the best time to canvass. But for me, it did work for us. They're priced well. You get a massive list at the end of the day that you have to. We learned from that as well because we were inputting constantly, like new customer. I would do it completely different. I would upload it rather than manually input it. But it works. It works. But again, you just got to keep that momentum going with the customer once you get them.
Can I just jump one last time?
Yeah, go on.
How did you cope dealing with 800 customers?
That was stressful.
Is that you must have introduced 2 new vans overnight?
No, we actually made a mistake in the way we performed on that. So we got all the work done, but we done a buddy system. That don't work.
What does that mean?
2 in a van.
Right.
It just don't work. So you get through the work. So what we did was we spaced out our scheduled cleans, so they weren't missed, but they were just slightly pushed back a little bit. So I would dedicate 2 full vans to just cleaning all the new work, get them all done every day. Sometimes we'd introduce 3, but we had 2 people in each van. So when we done the massive growth, that was the biggest mistake we done, was a buddy system, because you don't get twice the amount of work done.
No, it doesn't.
I don't care what anyone says.
It actually goes down.
No.
Yeah. So
as an average.
put it this way, we got rid of 12 people, and we still produce the same amount of work now as what we did when we had them 12. That's massive.
That's similar to Abacus, isn't it?
That's colossal. That's absolutely colossal. But at the time, you see this big influx of work. What are we going to do? How are we going to cope?
Totally.
And you just think, I need bodies. What I need was additional vans with 1 person in a van.
Yeah.
The figures don't stack up. Unless you have a big commercial sector, it don't work.
Talking of staff, how do you find good staff, and what qualities do you look for when you're looking to take someone on?
To be fair, I've always been really lucky with my staff. Some have been family, some have been friends of people who already work for me. So we've had a couple of ropey ones, which I think most people will agree they go through the same period. But for me, we look for someone who's ambitious, who takes pride in their work, energetic. You don't want someone who's sort of lethargic, just moping about, and polite. You want people's properties. There's a big trust there. They've got to be trustworthy. They got to act in a certain manner. So that's what we go for, and all the guys get on so well with the customers, and the feedback you get is lovely. Oh, I just had 2 young members here. They're really lovely guys. Thanks for what they've done. They'll get tips. Stuff like that. So that then is all reported back to us. We then say to the guys, look, this is the message we got. Well done for what you've done. Neil, you've done a really good job. Ashton, do you know what I mean? So they will always give us good feedback. And to be fair, if there's ever been anything go wrong where they've missed a wind or, you get the same old thing, they will go back and do it. The customer might have a moan about it.
A genuine mistake.
Yeah, but you just try and put it right. Try and put it right.
Yeah. Do they hold on to your vans as well? So there's that added level of trust.
Hence why there's,
no vans in the car
no
park.
vans in the car park.
Do you get anyone ever join you? How can I word this? Do you ever find people join the company or look as you're going through members of staff, they actually want to climb like the corporate ladder, shall we say?
Yeah, so I've always said to the lads, look, there's been a couple where I've said, if you want to learn more or you want to take more of a lead role, some just don't. They're just happy to go out, clean the windows. They know their route, they know their day. They don't want that added pressure. My son is very driven. He wants to rule the world, do you know what I mean? So he's got that in him. From day dot, he was always going to be that way. He's always been very motivated. He works hard. He's only 19. He's out in a van on his own. He hasn't been with me long, but he's flying. Neil, he comes, he works on the windows every day, but he does all the planning. He's really good. He's flexible in what he does. So I'm always up for people, being promoted internally, 100%. I give them something to drive for.
What's been one of the biggest challenges you've faced over the last 10 years and how have you overcome it?
Except from COVID.
Yeah.
I think that.
How did you find COVID actually? Because I remember Boris actually saying that if you're a window cleaner, you should be out working because people are indoors looking out their windows. You're outside, but
that's all
did
very
it
well
affect
saying
you, or was it something that...
Yeah, it did affect us, yeah. So that's all very well saying, oh yeah, you should be out there working, but some people might not want you there. Because everyone had a different view on what was going on. Everyone had you're dealing with so many different people and multiple personalities. That is the one thing with this business, there's so many different personalities that you have to cater for. And that's another thing, going back to the staff, they need to be able to cater for all these different personalities. But with COVID hitting, we stopped for about 6 to 8 weeks, shut everything down, and customers were asking us to come back. But over the last 10 years, the hardest bit was going from being a one-man band to then entrusting other people to carry that service out, letting go, but also having to run a bigger machine. I've got to control this, I've got to control that. I've got extra staff, I've got health and safety. So you're not just out cleaning windows and looking after yourself now, you're having to operate a bigger firm, which becomes a bigger headache. More sleepless nights.
It's a different beast, isn't it?
It's a different beast. When you're a one-man band, you probably have sleepless nights thinking, I've got to get this job, I've got to book this job in. You feel sometimes a bit overwhelmed about everything that you've got to do, but that don't change when you get bigger. That heightens.
Can I just touch on what you just said? You said about the lady before managing and doing the admin and bits and pieces. Do you have someone who's like a manager, or is it you?
So, Richard and Ucash, they tend to take a bit of a lead role in Cumbria, and then they will feed any information or report back to Louise, and then we'll discuss what they're doing, whether certain requirements, certain hotels want, are we able to do this? And again, we have to be mindful that I don't want you climbing up here and doing that, so I will possibly then go to Cumbria and inspect the site.
So have they taken away any of your worry, or do you now just worry about them?
No.
Are you coming from a one-man band?
I am. They're very self-sufficient.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They actually take the stress off you a touch?
100%.
Oh, that's good then.
Without them, it would be a struggle, because they're the backbone of it. You got the guys out there cleaning, but they're so good at reporting. They're so good at planning the work. The communication between them is really good. I'd actually say they're slightly ahead to what Norfolk is on that, because it's just the way they are there. That's just the way they are.
That's good.
That's great.
Simon, has anything ever happened to you personally that's made you want to pack it all in and just give it up? Yeah. So I had a heart attack 4 years ago, and so while I was starting my window cleaning business, I was running 3 companies. So I was running a printing firm of 100 staff, I had an online shop, and a window cleaning business. And people who know me will always say, you work too much. I was working 7 days a week up until middle of last year. So even recently, I've been working and working and working. So I had a heart attack and thought I need to reevaluate things. So I focus purely on the windows in the building now. Everything else is gone. So for me, there has been periods where I thought, I don't want this. You know, I don't want the stress. But then you need to bring in a support network. You know, without my staff, without my family, without the support financially that I've had behind me, I wouldn't be where I am today. 100% I wouldn't. I would have probably gone back to being a one-man band, because physically you could only do so much yourself. You can only take on so much yourself. You can only financially support yourself so far. I was growing too quick. Growing a business was never the problem. I could grow to 20 million because I know how to get it. It's the financial side. You need to be able to financially fund your growth. And when I was growing from being a one-man band to 350,000, I was living and funding that growth on my own. But it comes with troubles. Fans breaking down, staff went off sick, COVID. Do you see what I mean? So there's all these things that can knock you back. So for me, if you want to scale your business, you have to keep your overhead low and be mindful of the pain that it takes to get there, because it is a painful growth. It's a painful and it's very, very expensive. Would you say it was harder 0 to 350 or 350 to a million?
Good question.
350 to a million.
I think that was harder, yeah.
Because the infrastructure changed. Everything changed. Health, safety, insurances, vehicles, equipment. This next sector that we want to go into, 700 grand.
To set up?
Easily. Yeah.
And would that get you 1 year's worth of running, or is that just the setup and then you got monthly costs on top of that?
So that's what we're going through at the moment. So the facts and figures behind it all, that's in progress at the moment. So we can't really elaborate too much on that. But to get where we need to be, they're the sort of figures that...
I can't wait to come back and find out about this.
It's
exciting, isn't it? Yeah. I'm excited.
It's a game changer.
I'm excited for you.
I'm excited. I'm also a little bit, you know, it's a beast.
I don't think it would be worth it if you didn't have those sorts of feelings. So.
And if you've done this so far, then I'd love to see what's around the corner.
People who know me know that I don't do things by half.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
I'm a pain. I've always been a pain, and I like to go all out. Go flat out, or don't do it at all. And that's how I've always been. Hence why when I started windows, I wasn't just going to do windows. That's never just going to be windows. Scutters, faces, solars, patios. That's always going to be the same. And my son has the same attitude. But again, I wouldn't be able to do it, and I wouldn't even be able to be thinking about this contract if I didn't have the support and the backing that I've got behind me.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, let's just quickly touch on about your growth within your business career. How much of it is dependent on spending to grow, and how much of that spending is bringing an outside investor? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Outside investor.
Yeah? And you swear by it?
I do. I mean, people might say no, but for me, because you're not just doing it on your own. You know, for me, it was I could have had a slower growth period and try to do it myself, but where's my support? You know, who do I go to when I want to hash out ideas? You know, my investor is my support. We go through it together as a journey. But the reason that's so important is because we're not just sticking with windows. We're looking at a bigger setup altogether. If it's just windows, it's a simpler process, because it's not such a massive outlay. You got a van, you got a system, you got a guy. Where we're trying to go is a bigger sector, which means I need a lot more support in other areas that I'm not familiar with. Just the health and safety alone for one contract that we're looking at, it took a year to set up.
Really?
Yeah, you got safe contractors, you got health and safety. We're now looking at master craftsmen. You know, there's so many sectors that these accreditations will bring to your business once you get them. But for me, yeah, I only know so much, and then you need to bring other people in to add that extra to your business.
It's quite interesting, really, isn't it? Because in the household I grew up in, I don't know about you guys, but debt was like a bad thing. And then when you get up and get out into the real world, you realise that there's good debt and bad debt. And good debt is almost vital for a business to grow.
I love a bit of debt.
But you see what I mean?
I've had it most of my life.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you get your house as a debt, you get your car as a debt unless you buy it outright. But the thing is, as long as you're putting that money into your business and that's going into an infrastructure that's going to grow as an asset. You know, like if you now got a van finance and you're investing in your business, so it's not wasted. The rounds we've bought, they're all invested. You know, we could say, okay, we'll sell the whole lot. Do you know what I mean? That's your investment. Whether you're putting 200 grand into building up a window round or 200 grand in a property as an asset, you won't get your money back till you sell it. So if I know when we bought Cumbria, that weren't a waste of money. It's a business sitting there. You know, it's an asset, and it's return a monthly income. So there's so many different ways of debt. Unless you borrow the money and go to Ibiza and have a levy one, then that's a waste. But yeah, put it into.
Yeah, it depends.
put it into property or put it into your business. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to grow. You know.
No, I hear you massively.
So, final question for the podcast today, Simon. What sort of advice, if you could give one bit of golden advice to someone who's looking to go from that one-man band to £1 million turnover, what would your golden bit of advice be?
Grow slow, but steady, but make sure you got all the infrastructure. Don't get a big scale of customers in one hit, because you need to be able to service them customers. You need to be able to get them done. But keep your overhead low. Keep your overhead low. Don't go for brand new vans. Go for second-hand vans, definitely. You'll get them at a lot cheaper rate. But I will say, it's not easy. It's not easy. It is tough. I've said in podcasts with other people before, and we all say very similar things. You know, it is tough. It's not easy. But everyone would be doing it. Everyone would be doing it.
Yeah, very true.
So yeah, I would definitely be mindful of cost, overhead, and the volume.
Basically, I think, be on top of what you're doing.
Be on top of everything, yeah.
You don't want the growth, although, you know, growth's good. You don't want the growth to be spiralling out of control before you can.
Well, look, you know, we took on 800 customers. We got so many more staff. We then got rid of a lot of staff. Do you know what I mean? So we grew quick, had to reset and get efficient. And that is what you do. You grow, you stop, you get efficient, you grow again, and you just repeat that pattern. You repeat that pattern, and the next minute you're at 10 million. So that's what you do. But you have to be able to fund that growth period, have time to reset, because if I now put 2 million revenue on my business, my infrastructure will change again. I might have to look at different CRM systems. You know, Cleaner Planner and that, fine. I think that's backward. It needs a big update. I think there's loads of different things I could do on that. But I might build my own CRM for my system. As we're doing a group, I'm not just servicing Cleaner now, am I?
We CRNEM.
Well,
is that what we're about?
We don't know. We'll see what happens.
So just quickly to touch on that, is completely. What was your thought process behind Cleaner Planner versus Squeegee?
I will say I prefer Cleaner Planner purely because I'm not as knowledgeable on Squeegee. Although Squeegee has a lot more quirky aspects to it and more features, but sometimes more is less. Cleaner Planner is very straightforward. You see what you're doing. It's very self-explanatory, where Squeegee you have to really look into it. Louise and Ucash and Cumbria, they've always used squeegee, so they don't know any different, but they fly through that.
Yeah, it's just interesting. So the three biggest companies we've interviewed all use Cleaner Planner, and I can't work out if it's because 10 years ago Cleaner Planner was the go-to, or whether there's some secret something that we don't know about that.
Who knows? I might be getting you subscribed to mine.
Anything to add?
Couple, if you don't mind. What's been the highlight of your career? Have you got one?
The highlight of my career. I mean, to be fair, from working, being homeless, and
We never touched on this. Can we touch on this? Now you've just mentioned it.
Yeah. So I had a period of time where I was, life was tough. Went through a breakup, had a little boy, and lost my parents. There was a period where I had places to go but didn't, because if it was known that I had nowhere to live, I wouldn't be able to see my son. So I had a period where, matter of months, I had nowhere to live. I'd sleep in cupboards, anywhere. Yeah. And it shows that actually you can survive on very little. I was working from 2 a.m. till 8 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. The only day I had off was Christmas Day. And I remember just sitting in my car, being in car parks, sleeping near woods, going to jobs to sleep in cupboards, getting food from a bin. That's... People look at a homeless person and they'll have their views, but you don't know anyone's story about how they got there. Why are they there? I didn't get there because I was on drugs. I didn't get there because I was lazy. I was working 4 jobs.
How'd you get there then?
Just bad choices. I was caught up in debt, and then me and my partner split up, so I ended up with no properties to live in. At the time, we were going through a messy breakup, and it was volatile to see my son, and there was a lot of emotions there. So I didn't want to rock the boat. I couldn't go. I could have gone to family members, but I didn't, because people talk. I didn't want them to find out my situation, because that could impact me even more. So I just dealt with it on my own, and I thought, I'm in this situation. I'm going to get out of it on my own, and I did. I literally just worked. And just progressed from that, but managed to get a deposit together, managed to get money to rent a place, and push from that. But
how did that feel when you walked in that place?
That
when it was yours and you had the key?
That was great.
I bet that was incredible.
I mean, to be fair, I used to think, if I got ill right now, it wouldn't be so bad, because I'd go to hospital and I'd have food and a bed. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, you could be negative about it, but I always think to myself, but I'm homeless in this country. We've got a system. So that ain't all bad, is it?
No, our system, a lot of people overlook the system we have here.
Of course I do. Incredible. I could be homeless in any part of the country.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would go to work, and that'd be the only place that I'd get biscuits and tea. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't afford anything else. You know what I mean?
What age was you when all this was going on?
Do you know what, someone asked me the other day, and time go quick. I want to say between 30 and 31, around that time. So I went bankrupt and everything. Yeah, it was messy. It was a point where I thought, I don't actually know how I'm going to get out of this. But all I knew is I need to work. And the thing that stopped me from eating out of bins is I could get ill. And if I get ill, I can't work. So you could function on water, always got water. Always managed to get snacks at work. So that kept me going. And you then realise, actually, we don't need all this stuff around us. We overindulge in everything. And it's only then where you think, well, I've got 2 options here now. I'm either going to work and push forward and do well in life, or I'm going to die. That is as black and white as that.
Do you think you can only be where you are today because of where you've been?
Probably.
That's got to be a huge driving factor, isn't it?
It has, but then it had a negative impact because I was so obsessed with work, I had a heart attack because I overworked myself. They said the hours I'd worked from a period to my heart attack was enough to retire because I just worked too much.
Mate, did you hear that? That's crazy, isn't it? That's actually wild to think. The hours you worked was enough to retire.
I only had a 5 to 6 hour window to eat, sleep before I had to work. And I did that 7 days a week. People who know me will know now that...
You're workaholic.
Yeah.
Do you regret that?
To be fair, I don't really regret much because it's carved the path that I'm in today. But I could have done things better. But I think there's always something like that. But you have to fail and to learn, to rebuild, and you hopefully rebuild in a better way. But the one thing I would never do is I wouldn't change the person I was. I'd always have the same outlook on life. It didn't make me negative. It didn't make me... I didn't have any aggression to the way anyone lived their life. For me, it was like, I'll do the best I can by people, even at my lowest point, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help each other out. I'm not here to cause any suffering to anyone.
Mate, that's a brilliant outlook.
That's a huge outlook, isn't it?
You
That's
have two options.
outlook.
You either wake up positive or negative. I'd rather just try and be positive. We all have things what get us down, that beats us down, that worries us. That's a fact of life. But you can't ever feel down about having a sad day, because you have to have a sad day to appreciate a happy day. They all go hand in hand. So if I have a negative day, that's a negative day. There's going to be a positive one around the corner. Do you see what I mean? So many people get fixated on a negative. I'm not. If my business failed tomorrow, I'll still say, I did my best, I achieved this, but I failed.
I love that.
But
I think the same.
You'd be out starting a new business tomorrow.
But even if I failed,
I
I would look at what else I could do. I failed so many times. I failed loads of times. The company I worked at in the printing industry, I started there at 19. And one of the guys who worked for me now, I've worked for since I was 19. And his name's Neil. Now, when I started there, I failed at school. I was a pain in the arse at school. My nickname was a lovable rogue. My son's nickname at school was exactly the same, lovable rogue. They said to me, you're going to be in prison, you're going to never make nothing of your life. I never, my exams, I didn't do any.
You can send them this link.
Yeah.
Say, look, I'm on YouTube now.
Yeah, but I didn't achieve anything. And that was how I was at school. I didn't take it serious. If I had taken it serious, I think I could have achieved more in a shorter space of time. But I think the infrastructure's there. It's how you want to use it. For me, I want to play up. Like I said before, people who know me, I'm a joker. I mess about. I'll be classed as ADHD now, I think, possibly. That's what they'd class it. But I had to do what I needed to do in the way I'd done it. I had to craft my own path, and that's what I've done. But if I'd have studied more, if I'd have learnt more at school, I would have made it probably in a more efficient way and in a quicker period. But for me, going back to being homeless and that putting a fear in me of being there again, I got over obsessed with work. By getting over obsessed with work, your family life suffer. So you've got to look at anything in the world that's worth doing or that's ever meant any meaning. There's been a suffering from someone in the background. That's just what comes with it. So my family suffered. My relationship suffered. These things suffered for me to get where I am today. So I would do things different. I would definitely cherish more time with the family. But for me, I had to provide for the family. So I was working hard. I was working all the hours I could just to be able to give them the Christmas they want or go on the holiday we want. And there's so many people in the same sort of predicament. Do I do this? Do I focus on that? And I think more people now are thinking we need to have a better quality of life, not get so wrapped in work. So when people like yourselves want to scale your business, there'll be a suffering. There'll be a neglect at some point in your life because you can't have everything. That just don't work. But the problem is you can't fear failing either, because that comes with succeeding, doesn't it? They go hand in hand. The amount of people that have made it in life have failed so many times. But people get so fixated on looking at someone on social media, oh, they drive this car, they got that house. But what did they sacrifice to get that car and house? What did they go through to get there. And that's the journey that people need to see. If people see the journey, if people understand the journey, they might think to themselves, do I really want to walk that path to get to that point? Because it's not all roses. And like I said before, I know the effort I've got to put in to scale to the next level. And that's going to be the game changer. I'll either scale and do really well, or I might go backwards. But for me, and the person I am, I'll keep pushing forward. I'll keep pushing forward for as much as I can. I think there's a sweet spot in business, and you got your starter, you got the middle bit that's messy, where you're covering your overhead. Then you need that sweet spot that then liquidates the overhead, and that's where we're at. We need to liquidate it more. I know what I need to do. And
do you say you're at that sweet spot, or you know?
We're just at a tipping point. We're at that tipping point where we're now hit the sweet spot where it can propel, and it can propel quick. But you have to go through the pain. You have to go through that pain barrier to get there. Like anyone, someone training for boxing, they're going through the pain of all the training, then they got the fight, and that's where you are. And that's when you then start scaling from a one-man band. The amount of people I've spoke to have gone up to 3 or 4 vans and gone back down to 1 van.
Why do you reckon that is?
It's the pain. They can't go through it. You imagine if you guys now had 5 or 6 vans going out. You're out really clean yourself because you're not quite at the point where you can step aside. A van breakdown. Your day's now messed because you can't complete your work. You then got to let all your customers know. You got to get the van recovered. That then chips away. That's then you then got to, what are we going to do with that guy? And we're going to be able to get the van repaired in time for him tomorrow. This all escalates. I've had 3 engines blow on me. We've spent 36 grand on new engines because of the wet belt.
Oh yeah,
it's been a nightmare.
Yeah.
I won't touch another Ford. When I replaced some belts at 40,000, purely because I lost faith in them. I used to always have Fords. I used to love them. But this wet belt, I've had numerous arguments with them. The only reason the van in Cumbria, they replaced the wet belt free of charge was because they booked it in for a replacement, but they had to cancel on us, and they replaced it because that actually snapped. But the ones in Norfolk, they haven't replaced any.
Also, as well, just digressing massively, going back to at the start of this episode, you was talking about aggressive growth.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you went through that period? Do you mind just throwing some numbers out there of what that growth was?
What, as in cost?
Or can be. I mean, because we're not talking about the 800 in 10 days, are we, from the canvassing?
No, so we, about 4 rounds come up for sale. And they were near the areas that we were working in anyway, so we bought them up. Some of them were 150 customers, some were 200 customers, so they were smallish rounds, so we bought them up. And then obviously the Lake District, that came up. That was a big round, the biggest one we bought. So we purchased that and then bolted that on. And that gave us an insight of working more with commercial, because predominantly we'd only really hit the domestic side. But since then, commercial in Norfolk has just gone through the roof. We do loads now in Norfolk.
Do you think that's because you've gained the insight from the work in Cumbria to be able to use those skills to work in Norfolk?
I think when you get used to doing some bigger commercial properties, then you don't look at it in the same way. Where a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm not quoting that, or and not only that, not only cleaning it, but let's get the price right. How many times have we gone to a job and we've all been there, we're priced at done it for.
Crikey, yeah.
Should be a bit more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I missed one side of the house.
Yeah. But you do it. That's a learning curve. But with the bigger properties, you've got to be on it, because that can then eat into, although you can earn a better profit line, that can eat into it really quick. So you have to get it right. We do medical centres, hotels, restaurants. Yeah, we do loads of stuff. Now. And not only that, that's nice because the companies are coming to us because they're looking at us in a commercial sector as well. Safe contractor is a massive thing.
Safe contract?
Yeah.
That's like a management.
So some people won't touch you unless you have that. So if you are wanting to scale in a commercial sector, you need safe contractor, because companies ask for it, and this is, again, some of the things that we're going for now. We've now got to get loads more additional accreditations because it's a different ball game.
Would you say commercial would be better than domestic in regards to profit margins and?
Yeah. So your domestic's your bread and butter. With commercial, you are going to hit a better profit line, but it becomes a bigger outlay because you might think, I need 2 more guys to be able to do that. Some commercial places might need you there every week.
Right.
Depends on the sector. Depends on what it is, and getting in with the facilities managers, because you might cater for one commercial property, but they might have another 5, but they're scattered.
Right, and you want to cover all 5 rather than just.
Do you do the one, or do you want to cover all 5?
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So you got to look at how far you want to go, and that was probably my trouble. I used to, if I'm doing them 4, I want to cater for this as well. Do you know what I mean? And I do go a little bit crazy for it. I've always been the same. But yeah, for me, this, like I say, we'll touch base again another point.
12 months, I think it'd be very interesting.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see what I say to you. I might be back in the woods.
How many sites? Let's call, you said you got Lake District and then you tried here, there, and everywhere. Let's call them a site. Yeah. So how many sites have you got across the UK?
So we got 2.
Yeah.
We had 3, but yeah, we got 2.
So it's just the Norfolk, Suffolk, Cumbria, and then
Cumbria.
Lake District.
Yeah. So what we do is we have a team of abseilers. So if someone need a load of stuff cleaned in London, Birmingham, Manchester, we go out there. We'll look at the job and we'll do it.
They're employed by you directly, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But we'll go out there and we'll assess it, because there's places here, commercial places here, that said, would you be willing to come to Manchester and look at a property there? Yeah, we'll do that, because that's kind of how we want to grow. We want to be a national brand. And like you say, it's a template. McDonald's have a template. They all have a template. You just got to replicate that template. Once you get it working and you've gone through all the learning curves and you know what you're doing, then you can just master that everywhere else.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, how do you price a tower block?
How do you price it?
Yeah.
So the abseiling team will go in and they will assess how many guys need it. It's quicker than you think. They do it
traditionally.
They do
traditional. Yeah, they do.
They start at the top and go all the way down to the bottom, don't they?
Yeah. But then with that, that'll vary on.
Otherwise, they're big all climbers instead of abseilers down. I guess. Yeah. Just answer my own question.
And that'll be done on a square footage. They'll work it all out on that way. But then with that, they then want cladding cleaned, because obviously a lot of these buildings have all this cladding now. So you then have to look at what manpower you need. But they get through it quick. But for me, there wasn't a big enough call to push that in Norfolk. I mean, there might be, because we are getting more tower blocks put up, but at the minute, it's just not enough. It's just I'll let the teams out there, they run that and get on with that.
Just again, out of curiosity, at what point do you cut off a building and say, right, it needs abseiling 5 stories, 6 stories, 7 stories?
When you start getting a pole 50, 60 foot, it's pointless.
You can't do it. It don't work past that, does it?
I've seen so many YouTubes where, look, I'm doing so. Oh yeah. Well, let me come and inspect that window pane.
It looks horrible.
That'll look terrible. Not only that, the flex, you can't even pull the pole away from the window.
No.
It's crazy. So 40, 50 foot, I won't be calling people in. Do you know what I mean? It depends on what they want. They aren't going to get a quality clean. That just ain't going to happen. And you imagine just a slight bit of wind at a height of 60 foot.
Mate, that'll kill someone.
You aren't holding that pole.
Yeah, and it'll go where it wants to go. And if you're at the receiving end of it,
you look like you're fishing.
That's
The bend on that'll be horrendous with it. That's horrendous.
What's that about five, anything above 5 stories?
It's crazy. Like I say, you got to say to the customer the expectation. Like, you aren't going to get it. You'll brush dirt off the actual frames and off the pane of the glass, but you aren't going to get a crystal clean glass. That ain't going to sparkle. That just ain't going to happen. And that's all down to customer expectations of what they want. And that's then got to be built in the price. They might not want to pay for that. But yeah, it's looking at how far you want to go with it. You know, like yourselves, where do you want to draw the line? Some people will just build a window round purely on windows and scale from that. I want to go into other stuff. That's just my view.
I'm going to go home and add abseiling window cleaning to my website and then call you up for any jobs.
I've been on a roof all week with the full arrest. It is the most annoyingest thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it.
Dragging
Send it to Simon.
Send it to Simon.
I'll just nick
Another headache.
on it. Yeah. All right, we happy?
I'm happy.
Yeah. Thank you very much,
Good.
Simon. It's been, I really enjoyed it.
Good to see you.
Thanks,
Cheers, mate. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.